So, go. Got it? Is the light is going? We're all good? Good. Okay, so I meant to bring a Torah on Shavuot, but lo and behold, I forgot it. So we're going to continue on, and the second halakha, the second stage of the blessings over the fruits. It continues along the same vein, but I think some questions came up last week in terms of Eretz, the land of Israel. How does that play into the blessings? How does that play into the fruit? And I think that this lesson continues on in the second halacha, the second let's say chapter of this. He actually goes into that a bit, so I felt it was apropos. And then we'll hopefully bring in a Rav Kook that will tie some stuff together, just a few lines, and we'll go from there. So, the lesson starts like this. The lesson said, I'm discussing now, right now I'm discussing, because we understand these 7 species, the blessings on them, give them an importance over other fruits, to say a blessing over. And we discussed last week that in those 7 blessings, the order that we find them in the verse actually also causes who's ever earlier to have their blessing first. So the lesson says this: Ki anachnu am kodesh b'nei Yisrael tzrichim sheyeh kol mazonotenu mishefa shel Eretz Yisrael. Because we're a holy nation, we require that all of our foods, all of our sustenance draws from the holy influence, from the influence of the land of Israel, or is influenced by the land of Israel. Ki rak Eretz Yisrael sheyach lanu b'nei Yisrael. Only Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, is meant for us as a nation, national. We discussed Ger Toshav before plenty of times. The Ger Toshav is an individual that feels a longing for the land of Israel and the people of Israel, and they are allowed to be here as well. It's important to actually denote that, just as a side point, that a Ger Toshav is not just a B'nai Noach that happens to not make Hashem angry and he can live here. That's not really what's going on. The Ger Toshav really wants to hang out here, because there's a lot of better places to hang out here. Hang out in Eretz Israel, and just sustenance-wise, we understand that, in terms of just brass tacks nature. So the fact is, if somebody's here and they're trying to get a, let's say, sort of live off of us, it's not pure. That's really what a Ger Toshav is. It could be in halacha, it's okay, but in Ger Toshav, the meaning of the Ger Toshav is they want part of the shefa also, right? They want this Eretz Yisrael dika shefa to connect into it also. Aval shefa ve'achila shel chutz la'aretz eino kedai lanu. It's not meant for us. Why? Ki chutz la'aretz hu avir hatameh. The outside the land of Israel, the atmosphere is impure. And we understand the sages made a decree that the afar, the dust, the dirt of outside the land of Israel, according to their decree, is considered impure. Mainly because we don't know where dead bodies are, but they use that understanding to make a deeper point, that to demarcate the fact that the land of Israel is holy in a different way than outside the land of Israel. It's underneath. It falls underneath the rule of the opposing forces. Okay, let's not call it the devil. Let's not call it Satan. Let's Sitra Achra, the other side. Right? There's the side which is, let's say, for our modern parlance, which is the side of Kedusha, the side of Hashem, the side of purity, which means that I have a clear vision of the world. I'm taking it out of a mystical kind of explanation now and bringing it to much more of a metaphysical idea, where in the land of Israel there's clarity, and outside the land of Israel, what does it mean to have an avir of tuma or underneath the sitra achra? It means I lack clarity. Or it's harder for me to achieve clarity, therefore I must run to the tzaddik to get clarity. That kind of fits in together. So everything's about clarity or authenticity. We've gone over that before. Also, the Rav Kook said that in this world I'm meant to discover who I really am, because I came down in a way which is not me. And so, in the land of Israel, the nation of Israel can discover who they really are. and those people who are long to be with him, right? They can't do that without running to the tzaddikim in the outside land of Israel. But here it's an organic process. Go on.
So why is it? Is it just the comforts of the world that keep more Jews from returning home? Why aren't more leaders shouting from the mountaintops or the rooftops, "Go home, go home"? I mean, this whole thing with the COVID, it seems like they're saying that Aliyah may increase.
It certainly has.
Yeah, already?
The interest in Aliyah.
Interest?
Yeah.
Baruch Hashem.
Well, I mean, just before I answer that point, I think the reason why it is going to increase is the argument that there is better than here, and therefore it's okay to learn Torah here, and it's a secure environment, is gone out the window. Mm-hmm. Like, no one can argue anymore that the United States of America is on a better footing. Militarily, it might be like, a bigger consumer economy, but security for the Jewish people, security, day-to-day life, is no longer an argument to make. The argument was always like, okay, fine, but you know what? I have to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and it's harder to make a living there, and it's harder to do this, and it's harder to do that, it's harder to do this. And I have my yeshiva here, so I'm answering the question. That was the argument. Okay, so what can I do? I wish I was there, but my yeshiva's here. There's not an argument anymore. There's not. So I think that we're going to begin to see it shift over, especially after the fallout of this and all sorts of things like that.
So Gamzu Latova.
So Gamzu Latova, always. It's always. That argument had to be taken out for two reasons. The first reason is that it clears up people's brains, so those people that really do yearn to make Aliyah can begin the process. That's one. Number two, those who decide not to make Aliyah, they don't have any reason, unfortunately, they're electing to stay behind. They're electing to stay behind in the next stage of this insanity. There's only one part of it. Is that I firmly believe there's only a setup. There's only the first stage to this, the wake-up call.
So we saw when the people were in Babylon, the vast majority, from what I understand, didn't come back either.
It's true.
Do you think the reasons are the same now or different reasons?
It would seem to me the reasons are very parallel to that. They were who came back? The poor people, led by Ezra and the leaders, but the poor people, the upper class didn't come back. Yeah, listen, they probably trickled back eventually because it looks like it's going pretty good after a few things. But primarily, they had a pretty good life in Babel. They had their academies. We have to understand that Pumbedisa and Surah had all the information. They still had the libraries there. I mean, just as another side, it's right. The Amoraim, the reason why they're able to comment on the Mishnah the way they're able to comment on the Mishnayot and create the Talmud is because all the academies are there. It's having 25 giant, and the notes that they had dated all the way back. It was hard for us to comprehend this, but they had cavernous libraries of notes. It wasn't just Chachamim, it was all the information they had collected. So it was a link back to a time period before the destruction of the temple, in some way. And they didn't want to give that up so much. They'd rather sit there and hold on to that. Understandably so, because eventually there was the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash again.
But are we going to see the same thing though? We're going to see the wealthier people, because they can maybe afford to have protection and security and feel more secure. And are we going to see the same thing happen, do you think? Or is it going to take more? Maybe it takes...
I think there's shifts. There's the French Aliyah was first started by the French first buying houses here, because the French Jews, my understanding is, economically are the most well-off Jews in the world. Just the way it's shaped up for them.
Okay.
Post-World II. It doesn't mean that they're it just means percentage-wise. It doesn't mean they have more wealth than American Jews necessarily, but it just means that if you take the percentage, for a lot of reasons, and they were able to buy houses here to set up their Aliyah. So it went in stages. They first bought houses, then the going got tough. It's getting worse and worse, and then now you see them shifting over. I think now the American Jews that are connected to Eretz Israel are more the assimilated Jews, forget about it. The Jews that are not assimilated, they're going to do they're 10 years behind the French Jews. That's what I would say. There's a certain percentage that make Aliyah, and there's a certain percentage that, hey, maybe I'll be smart getting the backup property here. That would be my theory on this. Nothing happens overnight. It's not meant to be. It could be. It is going to be. Now we're at the stage where everything goes fast. I don't know, but let's see what happens. Al ken, anu tzrichim letaken koach achilatenu v'shtiyatenu sheyeh b'bichinat shefa shel Eretz Yisrael ki'ilu yotzei me'Eretz Yisrael. The Mephi's living in Ukraine. He says, "Listen, we're not in Eretz Yisrael, so what are we going to do? What are we going to do? How are we going to make the food we eat have the shefa from Eretz Yisrael?" He goes, "It's up to us to draw out the godly influence from Eretz Yisrael into our food, as if it in of itself came from Eretz Yisrael." And this is why we make a blessing on every single thing. We can explain this point, but this is the reason. The reason why we make a blessing on stuff is to draw out the holiness of Eretz Yisrael that's embedded in it. We see a lot of this in Chassidus and other things as well, but Chassidus generally, especially Renaissance for sure, approaches the wider world this way, in the world of bechinot aspects, which are really archetypal structures. I mean, those who've been learning here long enough understand that. I've said this a few times, that the Torah is really a set of archetypes. That's what a Gilgul is. The reincarnation is just a repetition of the original archetype in some form played out now. So we're constantly seeing this in Chassidut, that we have an archetype of Eretz Yisrael, what the physical Eretz Yisrael actually represents to us. The physical Eretz Yisrael actually is an opening for us to connect to that. And therefore, even further, every fruit, since is drawn, has a potential to tap into this archetype, but all we have to do is say a blessing over it. Which is how Rabbi Nachman can say, even in Eretz Yisrael, he's constantly going towards Eretz Yisrael, because there's a deeper aspect here that even when we're Eretz Yisrael, we can be missing the point. There are plenty of Jews here who act as if it's not Eretz Yisrael. Unfortunately.
Okay, another question. I'm going to keep interrupting you today, apparently.
It's fine.
So I've been with some. I've eaten with some men who will say a separate blessing instead of, if there's bread on the table, lechem covers everything. But they will say a separate blessing over each type of food instead. So, does that make sense?
I mean, outside of their bread, or
separate from their bread?
Before they had the bread.
I don't remember. I don't know.
There are opinions that say that fruit and things like that, and mizranot, like cookies, can be separate, depending on where they're served. Without going into different opinions of the class, there are opinions like that.
Okay, so it's not really.
It's a separate meal.
So it's not really a matter.
I don't do that, but there are plenty of people that do.
So it's not a matter of trying to draw out this holiness from each type of food, like from the ground, the fruits, all the different things. Or maybe it is for some people. Is that possible? Have you heard that type of idea?
I don't think I don't know what goes on people's hearts, but most people don't have going to it with this type of concept. Albeit there is an idea of saying as many blessings as possible within a halachic framework. The reasons why one would say blessing over fruit or cookies at the end of the meal, I just hold, I follow the opinion that it's all part of a meal.
Mm-hmm.
So that those people that do the opposite don't believe it's part of the same meal, especially at the end.
Mm-hmm.
There's a concept of clearing the table, and dessert is a separate meal. It goes back to the way they used to serve meals in the time of the Talmud. So depends how much that can be pulled over into our time period.
Okay.
That's usually where, by the way, halachic discussions. Remember that the Talmud is a without dumbing it down, is a collection of legal opinions. Even if you take out the stories, it's a collection of legal discussions. It's much deeper than that, but let's just say that's surface value. Legal discussions based between 50 BCE to 600, 500 CE. And so therefore lots of things we're discussing are framed in a time period that we don't have a connection to. So we have to understand how that. So that's when the halachic decisions can oftentimes be decided modernly by way of how you understand what they're doing and how if you can bring that over or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we pull out, we draw, we draw the influence of Eretz Yisrael into the food we eat by saying blessings over it. כשאנו מברכים ומודים אותו יתברך שברם וזה בעצמו נעשה ארץ ישראל בכל מקום. It's a very powerful concept. When we bless and we thank Hashem, the Creator, with this itself, we bring Eretz Yisrael into every place. Bring Eretz Yisrael into every place. So we to get to the end. It's not long. We'll see why this is important. It's not just that we're bringing the sustenance of Eretz Yisrael into our foods. Now we can blessing through the food. We're able to draw Eretz Yisrael into that spot, no matter where you are. כי עיקר ארץ ישראל נעשה על ידי כוח מעשיו הגיד לעמוד לתת להם נחלת גויים. That the main way, the essential part of Eretz Yisrael is made through, meaning the Eretz Yisrael is the main representation of expressing Hashem's how Hashem created the world. Kamosh Katuv Rabbeinu Neroli Le'ir Al Inyan Machat Kaf B'Tfilah is very famous that he brings another point in wherever we do this. I have a press over clap in the middle of davening. The airspace in there creates the air of the land of Israel. Right. Once again, it's connecting to the supernal Eretz Yisrael, the Eretz Yisrael that is embedded in reality, that we're trying to always run towards. This Eretz Yisrael gives us a corridor to the deeper Eretz Yisrael. Just like the Beit HaMikdash, when it's rebuilt, B'ezrat Hashem, gives us a connection to the upper Beit HaMikdash. Everything, the broken world means that the world here does not follow the blueprint from the world above. We're disconnected, as it says in the Tanya. This world, the Olam Dasiya, the lowest of the worlds, is disconnected from all the other worlds above. And the Geula isn't that something new is happening. The Geula is a reconnection to the proper flow of godly influence in the world. Which means we'll Beit HaMikdash, which means to totally understand what we're supposed to be doing here. So that's what's going on. I'm going to skip just for time's sake. Nimsa she'ikar Eretz Yisrael na'aseh alei yitgaleh she'Hashem yitbarach bara kol olam kulo biyado nitna lemi she'rtza. That Eretz Yisrael is one of these places that basically expresses Hashem's creation, so that He's the creator. And that's why in the beginning, the first Rashi says he can give it to whoever he wants to give it to. It's a very famous Rashi. The beginning of the Torah. That's why does it have to start with, Rashi asks a question, right? Quotes a Medrash. Why does the Torah start with Bereshit? Why doesn't it just jump into Am Yisrael leaving Mitzrayim? Because we have to show all the lead up in order to understand who does Eretz Yisrael belong to, and the fact that Hashem can give Eretz Yisrael to whoever He wants to give it to, whatever He wants to give it to. It's not really our land. It's Hashem's land. כשאנו מברכים ומודים אותו יתברך על איזה פרי שבראה, אז אנו מגלים קדושת ארץ ישראל. גם באותו מקום שגדל הפרי, מאחר שאנו מגלים, מודים שהוא יתברך ברא הכל, שמזה נעשה עיקר קדושת ארץ ישראל. That once again, that whenever you say blessing over any fruit of the earth, fruit of the trees, that is making that is the ikar of kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. That's the main part of the holiness of the land of Israel, and it's drawing Eretz Yisrael to that place. I'm going to. No, let's just continue on. Zeh she'amru b'teinu zal. K'tiva Hashem ha'aretz mulu'ah. Ha'aretz natan livnei adam. This is a famous Tehillim that the land was given to people. Kan kodem bracha azay la'Hashem. This is from the Gemara Brachot. La'Hashem ha'aretz mulu'ah v'chula kan la'acher bracha azay ha'aretz natan livnei adam. Essentially speaking, I'm going to paraphrase for time's sake, that it's not that we're not allowed to take. There's a the Gemara Brachot says we're not allowed to take from the land without saying blessing on it. Why? Because it's like you're stealing from Hashem. Okay, but the land was given to us. What land is he? What land was given to us? Eretz Yisrael. How do we do that? How do we ensure that we have Eretz Yisrael? How do we make that possible? We make a blessing. And the Natama Aretz in the Tehillim is only for after the blessing. If you take, according to the Gemara Brachot, without saying a blessing, you're stealing from Hashem. You're a thief. If you say make a blessing over something, then it's yours. That's where it says that Hashem gave you the land. That's the Tehillim. Haaretz natan livnei adam. The land was given to Bnei Adam. When? Only after to say a blessing on something. What land? Eretz Yisrael. Zehu shinui sheben ketuvim shekutnem bracha la'Hashem haaretz mulu'ah teva v'shvei. Okay, I'm gonna jump further along in order to finish this off, and then we'll get to some Rav Kook and finish up the discussion. The main point of this Torah is teaching us to draw the frequency of the land of Israel into the things we're doing. Right, that's what Shefa is. Shefa is a particular type of frequency, right? Influence, but frequency, godly frequency, given over to the world. So we're all yearning for the land of Israel, yearning to try to get back here and connect to it as much as possible. So Nussin saying, listen, we have no choice but to draw our sustenance from there. In order to do that, we have to be mevatel, we have to be nullified to Hashem's will in the world. The way to do that is to say blessings before eating. And when you do that, you draw Eretz Yisrael to wherever you're at by using the food. But there's a deeper reason behind all this that he finishes up with. There's a midrash that says at the end, Eretz Yisrael spread over the whole world. Have you heard this? At first, we come back to Eretz Yisrael, and then we settle here. And then Mashiach comes, does what he needs to do, and then Eretz Yisrael, then the land of Israel spreads around the world. So Nassim quotes that. He says, listen, that's how we do it. So wherever you're at, you can draw out the frequency of Eretz Yisrael to the whole world. What he's really trying to say is that in potential, the land of Israel is the whole world already. So our job, if we happen to be not here, wherever we're at, if it's not in the land of Israel, we can, in that spot, fulfill that midrash in some ways. We can already be living in a world, every time we say a blessing, where we are the conduits for the land of Israel wherever we're at. That's what's going on. That's what's going on.
So is that stronger than being an ambassador? Or would it be a similar concept?
I think a similar concept. I mean, ambassadors in total, like wherever I'm at, I'm supposed to be, working for the king. The ultimate king. And when I do those things, then in some senses, I'm drawing his kingdom, Hashem purposely restricted himself from the world, so we would act as his ambassadors to draw his mouth with this kingship everywhere we go. everywhere we go. Here it's just about recharging in a lot of ways. And rectifying what went wrong.
Probably not for today, but at some point I'd be really curious to see the connections with the Birkat HaMazon.
Sure.
With this Torah. I think there's some good connections there.
For sure. That's for sure. So I'm going to let's see this rough quick. One other thing that we learned before the short Torah from Rabbi Nachman on the Nigun of Eretz Yisrael. I believe so. Maybe not. We'll learn it when we have time. But before that, there's a melody. Rambam says there's a melody from the land of Israel. And he proves it by showing Pesukim, verses, and there's a specific melody that's found in the land of Israel. It's found through the grass and the food and all that stuff, and it gets drawn out of that. It's one who's here, if they're in tune with everything, can feel that melody, can hear it. In other places it talks about the melody of the tzaddik, and it's in the melody of the geula, and it seems to be the same idea. That in Eretz Yisrael, this melody that's meant to be flowing throughout the world is much easier to be in tune with. So you think about the blessings of the fruit and food that way, that it kind of, when I make a blessing over the food, it's basically saying, okay, Hashem, I recognize that you're running the show. That recognition hooks me into the land of Israel, into that melody of redemption, into that melody of the land. And it fast tracks me in. Because that's what Hashem wants, is us to recognize that really he's just running the show. How else to explain it? Two people who are the same, it's an age group and, danger of corona, one goes and one doesn't go. It doesn't make any sense. Percentage-wise, it's totally rational. Hashem's running the show. So Rav Kook says this. I'm going to try to understand it. It's very, very high, Yishmat Adam Beharchavta, the soul of Adam, soul of person in its composition. Kolelet hi ptocha et haneshamot pratiyot shel kol habruim kulam. It encompasses within it all the specific or individual souls of all the creation. You want to repeat that?
Yep.
Fine. The soul of a person in its composition encompasses within it all the souls, all the specific souls of all the creations.
All the human creations? Everything. Rocks, trees.
Everything. We hit a bit on that. Often says Rav Kook draws from Rabbi Nachman. It's very obvious in lots of places that he's doing it. And Nazir edited this. It's very odd. Nazir says it the Nazir says that Rav Kook did that in the beginning of the introductions. One of the things he drew from it, he calls it Hasidut Chadasha, new Hasidut, right? Like the newest thing, Baal Shem Tov, right? So that we touched last week on how the fruit has souls, and that a soul really is, we understand it, let's just say in modern parlance, a particular program that's supposed to run its, this program is built for a particular purpose here, usually to rectify or to fix things that are not intact. In a way, in order to do that, how does it do that? If it doesn't come in a complete form. Our souls are not complete when they're here. They're not. The program doesn't have everything it needs to do what it needs to do. So we learned last week when you eat fruit, when you eat fruit, you say a blessing on it. Whatever you're drawn to that day, as long as it's not by way of taiva, is we learned last week is that soul, that part of your soul, it needs to complete you, that part of your program. And so I'm not surprised. This is kind of comes out of the same idea that the souls of the world, the souls that are all these programs that are running all this, so to speak, all the information built into every single piece of fruit.
It's like the Matrix.
So to speak. I mean, that analogy is definitely gone through plenty of times, and it's true because all this stuff is there. So when I am the reason why if we remove the layers of our life, the reason why I'm drawn close to things is because I long for the soul that's found in those things, because it's really part of me that I've lost along the way. And that's what's going on here.
But that wouldn't be for anything. If somebody longs to buy a fill in the blank,
Okay.
A 55-inch TV,
That's right. That's the Siddhartha. It's already the other side playing on a desire, that fallen desire. But as I said, if I'm clear with who I am, and I can hear that melody of creation, then I can sense within me a sort of camaraderie with the world, the nature around me. We've all had those experiences when we've been out in nature for an extended period of time without the cell phone. All of us have lived life before cell phones, thank God. And we've noticed how things sort of fall into place really fast the longer I'm disconnected. And I think that's what's going on. The creation is made up of many different souls, and they're all found within this and how my soul is composed. They're all found within it. My soul is a blueprint of creation itself. Each one of us. כל נפש חיה ניצוצו מאור אבוקה הגדולה הכללית, נשמת האדם. Every living soul is a spark from the light, the ongoing light, the light, the great, all-encompassing light of the soul of the person. Or let's say here it could very be now I'm looking at it deeper, Adam, right, of Adam Rishon. We're all connected to that. So each one of us is found within that. Rak lemarei anayim, only to you don't have to look out with your eyes. Kol min v'chol prathu mitsui b'fnei atzmo, that's found by itself, every little specific type of thing. Ha'ayin choderet ro'eh lebat hayim gedola, the eye looks into it and sees a grand and great life within each little thing. Me'ochezet ba'adam klali, and it is grabbed, or it is, clasped inside this, the supernal Adam, which one of us represents. All its different levels. Midat ha'or, v'achom mitgaleh, in a level of light and heat that is revealed. V'chol bri'ah galmit uksharit hi rak lechalek katan me'orze me'ir bo. That a little bit of this light shines out within it. There's a little light of creation in each little thing. It shines out at the person. We're only hit that first paragraph, but it goes further. At the end he says something interesting about Noach, that Noach was able to attract the animals to him is because he was able to see all the souls that were kind of like built within him. So he was able to actually draw them into the teva. He gave a place for each part of creation in there. And I think this is the paradigm whether it's Rav Nassim talking about Eretz Yisrael and drawing Eretz Yisrael to wherever we're at, what he's really saying is Eretz Yisrael is the corridor to a true, authentic relationship to the creator of the universe. And once again, we were seeing that the creation itself has everything we need. The creation is a system, is everything we need. It's that we're the ones who don't really glance at it in the right way. And the blessings over the food, or the fruits, or the food itself, is the Chachamim's way, using Ruach HaKodesh, to open those channels up to help us see the world in a much more holistic way, if we choose to. Because that's the whole point. The whole point is the reason why the Adam Rishon, right? Adam was able to name all the animals is because he's interwoven with the creation. He was actually like just he's the ultimate blueprint of the creation itself. Where's the Torah? The Torah is inside the Adam. The written Torah is a physical expression of that supernal part of ourselves that's still a blueprint of the Creator and the creation. And the Torah is there to help us draw it out. It's only external because we live in an external world. The reality is part of who we are. So we should be blessed to make blessings, and we should be blessed to see the spark of holiness and godliness in every single part of the creation, and like mamash live within a real holistic format within it, and not overtake it, not blow through it. Shabbat shalom.